Hello again, guys. It is I, Freezy700. We are back with some Warhammer 40k lore. This time we are talking about a very secretive Space Marine chapter known as the Mentors. Ooh. Now, the Mentors Legion is another legion like the Rainbow Warriors where they were originally conceived in like the first edition, and they were known as the Mentors Legion, but later retconned into the Mentors Space Marine chapter. So there's already kind of that lore conflict going on with this chapter. Now, I'm not making fun of them like the Rainbow Warriors, because the Rainbow Warriors were pretty damn stupid. But the Mentors are actually really fucking smart. Now, you may think, well, alright, so is their story good? Yes. Is their lore good? Yes. Now, here's the thing about this chapter. This chapter is all about secrecy. They're all about intelligence. They're all about supporting. Now, how do we get to those three categories? Well, secrecy. No one really knows where their fortress monastery is, and no one really knows what their numbers are. In fact, no one's ever seen them deploy a company. No one's ever seen them deploy the whole chapter. No one's seen any real military force out of this chapter. So that's a little fucking odd, right? Supposedly only the High Lords of Terra really know these sorts of things, which is very interesting because, you know, it's kind of odd that they have so much say in the Adeptus Astartes as to what should and should not go down, yet no one really knows anything about them. Also, something that's more fucking interesting that I think is actually unique is that this chapter, for some reason, has a very strong ties to the Adeptus Mechanicus, but they never say why. So here they are, using the Adeptus Mechanicus war gear that's brand spanking new, but yet no one knows what it is that they did to earn the Mechanicus trust like that. Because mind you, there are some legions out there who are now chapters who don't have this strong tie. Now you may think, alright, well what's up with the name, the Mentors? Does that actually mean anything? Yes, it does. It means that they actually teach. They learn and they teach. This is what comes into play about the knowledge category. They're all about knowledge. They know their opponents. They know military doctrines. They know everything. Now, this is where it gets a little fucking weird. So, I already said that they are a supporting category too. Well, that goes alongside the knowledge category. They can't support you if they don't provide you with the knowledge. Now, you may think, well, what the fuck do you mean? Like, I think every Adeptus Astartes knows what an orc is. I think every Adeptus Astartes knows what a battle formation is. Stuff like that. Well, this chapter exclusively only sends support. That's it. And they really just support you with their mind, not with their military prowess. Huh, that's a little fucking interesting. So basically what happens is, this chapter does not ever organize itself into huge battle companies and go out and lead a crusade. Never do they lead a war against a certain opponent. Never do they drop down on the field with hundreds of Marines and just start fucking the enemy to death. They don't do this. Instead, what they do is actually very interesting. What they do is they send out 5-man squads. Now, originally, it was 10-man, which were known as tutors. These are the name of the squad, which is a typical 10-man squad. But they usually get split up into 2 squads made up of 5 dudes. And those 5 dudes are known as the elite cadre. Now, the elite cadre basically do a number of things that are very interesting. Like, 1, they can actually go out and do specialist missions. So whether it's an assassination of a high important target, whether it's sabotaging the enemy's gear by sneaking into their camp, whether it's going out and rallying a rebellion behind the enemy's lines, these guys would do that, and they do it perfectly. They're almost like agents in that regard. Now, the second thing that these guys do is they actually aid the officers and the generals and whoever's in charge in leading their troops. So, this is where it gets actually interesting. This is where you actually learn what this chapter does. So, this chapter's main goal is to aid you through knowledge, and that's what they do. They study and learn both enemy tactics and human tactics. They learn how to use weapons. They learn how to use certain battle techniques. So they're masters at this. So they could be loaning you the elite cadre, and the elite cadre will decide to help the Imperial Guardsmen in teaching them how to better use their weapons. So you could be a Death Corps of Krieg, master artillery guys. Well, these guys are going to come along and tell you, hey, here's a tip for loading the artillery gun. You don't need to close this capsule. I know it says it in the book, but you don't need to close this capsule. That just saves you 5 seconds of precious, precious time. All of a sudden, now their artillery rate just got increased. All of a sudden, these small little changes and these small little techniques stack up bonuses and bonuses and bonuses to your army. Now your army is very fucking strong and very elite. Not only do they teach the individual dudes in your army or in your chapter, but they also learn from them. So this is also the part of the mentors. They gather knowledge. So if you're Black Templars Legion, or Black Templars chapter, my bad, I'm so used to saying Legion. But if you're the Black Templars chapter, you're very elite at melee combat. Well, a mentor might not be. He actually might not. This might be the one mentor who doesn't know it. So he's going to fight alongside you, but the whole time that you're swinging and cutting down heretics, he's actually learning from you. You don't need to tell him anything. You don't need to train him. He's learning just by watching you. He's going to learn exactly how you slide your blade right into the enemy's thickest carapace and somehow still kill the beast despite being on foot. And then he can go to another Space Marine chapter who's not melee experts at all and end up teaching them how to do it. He may go, oh, well, see, if you slide the blade in like this, I learned this from Black Templars. Boom, you're going to insta-kill a big Carnifex. Good job. This is the part of the mentors that I do like, is that they actually learn, and then they kind of act like a intermediary between different forces. Because mind you, the Imperium, even though they're all fighting for the same reason, they're very fractured and ununified. They're very divided. Well, the mentors actually bridge that gap. It's like, okay, listen, Death Corps of Krieg, Morty and Iron Guard, you guys both don't need to suck each other's dicks and get married, but just let me into your armies, I'll learn from you, and then I'll tell you what the other guys are doing so you can be just as good as they are. And that's what they do. They basically bridge the gap between all these forces. But they also lead. And that's something I think is very fucking interesting. Is that they can actually sit back in the, cozy-ass office of the general and tell him what to do. They could go, all right, you have been neglecting this point right here. If you push through, the enemy would not be able to respond to you, and by the time they do, you've already done enough damage for them to have to fall back. And while they're falling back, you could chase them down with these units here that you aren't using, and stuff like that. That's how they would perform as a chapter. Personally, me, I like this chapter a lot because they never deploy armies. They only deploy squads. Now you may think, well, don't all Space Marines deploy squads? Yes. But this is the only Space Marine squad that will look at a war going on, and they're only going to give you one squad. That's it. They're not going to give you a battle company. They're not going to deploy those troops on the battlefield either. They're just going to loan you this guy, these 5 guys. And these 5 guys are going to go around and make it where your army is super fucking elite. Also, these 5 guys may be sporting war gear that is super fucking advanced, and you've never even seen it before. That's because they are the only chapter that's really allowed to actually experiment with technology made by the Adeptus Mechanicus. This is something that's also interesting, is that they have this unique gun that's like a rocket launcher, but it's plasma. It's fucking weird. And, sorry, I can't remember the fucking name of the damn thing, but essentially a plasma missile? Holy shit. That would disintegrate armor, but not only would it disintegrate armor, it would make short work out of the most advanced Xeno and Demon tanks out there. But there are problems with these guns and weapons. This is why the Adeptus Mechanicus needs the elite of the elite. That's where these guys come in. They aren't cannon fodder like some Adeptus Astartes chapters like the Black Templar, where they just charge in, take high amounts of casualties, but they don't care because they're able to do their job. And they aren't the Grey Knights, who are so fucking legendary and so fucking rare that it's best not to deploy them with uncertain technology. But they are right below the Grey Knights in the sense that they are super, super fucking good at their shit. They know how to fight. They're super specialists in all fields of warfare. They're so great at leading their chapter and so great at leading other chapters, other Imperial Guards, other everything, that is wiser to give them the guns rather than anyone else. Because they're able to use their infinite knowledge and apply it to this gun. They may go, okay, it's a plasma launcher. Okay, I've worked plasma weapons before. I know everything there is about plasma weapons. I'm going to use that same knowledge to this gun. Whereas a different Adeptus Arbites, they don't really know their guns. This is something I think is very important for me to point out at the end of this video here, is that the Death Watch company is a good example of this. So the Death Watch, when a Space Marine is inducted there, they don't really know their guns. They just know this is how you reload it. This is what the gun can do if you shoot it at the opponent. But besides that, they don't really understand anything about the gun. And when you join the Death Watch company, the Death Watch company teaches you more about it. They teach you more about how, like, this hammer part here is what makes the bullet fly out of your gun. This right here is what allows you to pierce armor. Use this, stuff like that. Well, the mentors, they already know their guns. They already know everything about it. They know that if they use this specific caliber of bullet, they're going to ruin someone's day. They know that if they're going against this enemy, then they need to use this gun. They know these sorts of things. Whereas a regular Space Marine, as smart as they are, they don't really kind of get the concept because they're not needed to know these sorts of things. They're more of a general precision type weapon. So yes, there's supposed to be a scalpel where they precisely go in and strike at an enemy, but at the same time, when we see the Salamanders chapter, they just use flamethrowers regardless of the fact that the enemy is severely armored and is immune to flamethrowers like fucking Necrons. So this is where, again, they're a scalpel, yeah, they're precise, but their weapons are kind of generic. They just kind of use whatever fills in that hole. The Mentors, though, is the true scalpel. The scalpel of the scalpel. They're very fucking precise, very well knowledged. If anything, you could actually attribute them more to the Blood Ravens chapter, despite the fact that the Mentors come from the Ultramarines. That's something also that's very interesting, is that the Blood Ravens adhere to knowledge is power, but the Mentors chapter says knowledge is half the battle. Ooh, that's interesting. So again, this has been the Mentors chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed this lore. Comment down below what you guys think. I like to cover lore that's usually not covered at all because people just don't like to talk about these very rare chapters that actually do have cool lore behind them, and they could be really fucking awesome if we see more of them. I would love to see more of this chapter. I would love to see them like actually deploy their army and see what their army looks like. That would be sick as fuck. Seeing like super elite plasma wielding like rhinos and shit, that would be fucking awesome. But besides that, this has been Frieza700. See you guys next time.